Are you enjoying watching this and getting the phone calls with Bichette, Luis Robert, and Freddy Peralta in a 1 week span?
I know, right? Especially after what we went through for the first part of the offseason, right? I see Kratzy laughing there. But yeah, no, it's exciting, man. And everything happened so fast. It was one move after another one. I kept getting texts from David or calls from our front office members about the move that we were making, and it was just exciting, because of, like I said, the way the offseason started it, and the fact that we got to this point, it's exciting.
Talk to me a little bit about, I'm sure you've thought about this, people are wondering too, this infield now. Talk to me, have you thought about, where guys are going to be? I haven't heard anything, that's why I'm asking. Like, have you thought, is there like any specific positions that Bo's going to be at, and, everybody else? I mean, Semien, like, talk to me about where guys are going to be in this infield, or is he going to just try and move people around?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're pretty much set with Bo. We were pretty honest from the beginning, and he was all in. I remember that Zoom call that we had with him. It was clear that the position that he was going to play was third base, and he was all in. So we'll have Bo at third, Lindor obviously at short, Mark is at second base, and then we got Polanco that we signed to play first base, another former middle infielder, a guy that moves around. That for the first time in his career is going to be playing first base. Baty will get some reps there. Mark Vientos is going to get an opportunity to earn some at-bats there as well. So, like I said, we feel pretty good with the way our infield is set right now.
Mendy, have you ever seen the movie Moneyball?
Of course.
Okay, Ron Washington in that movie is quoted as saying, "It's not that easy." Do you believe first base is that easy? And because you kind of tiered the athleticism from Jorge Polanco to Baty to Vientos, but it's experience, it's angles, it's, are you going to have them go to their right because you're going to have Marcus Semien controlling that area? Do they only go to the bag afterwards? Like, how easy do you think this transition is going to be? So do you have a lower level of expectation if you don't think it's that easy?
Well, our expectations are they're going to be able to handle, especially a guy like Polanco. It's not that easy, Kratzy. It's not that easy. People just think that we'll put him at first base and he'll figure it out. There's so much that goes into it when you're making that type of transition, whether it's, not to mention fundamentals, right? Cuts and relays, bunt plays, getting familiar with your pitching staff, who gets off the mound well, having the awareness when the second baseman is playing. So you got to get on a habit to pick to your right, especially guys that are used to playing up the middle, that as soon as the ball's hit, their first reaction is go get the baseball. In this case, when you're playing first base, you got to be familiar, with how far that second baseman is. Do I need to go for that ball? Do I need to just go straight to the base? And that's almost some of the plays that only by playing the position, that's how you're going to get better. So our job is to get him as many as game reps as possible, because it's not so much about catching a ground ball. They know how to catch a ground ball. They're going to get to baseballs. And then on top of that is the footwork at first base, making sure they're not stretching too soon, the ball's in the dirt, their ability to use the whole bat. It's going to be a process. I'm glad that we started it early. But again, until we see it in games, we just got to stay on top of it.
Are they going to be playing more games? Are those guys going to be playing more games at first base? Not to only key on one position. More games in spring training than they ever have? Are they going to be going down to the B game in the minor league side to get reps? Because you have three guys for one position, and there's only one big league game. I think you play 26 of them during spring, and they can't play all of them.
Yeah, we're going to have to get creative here in making sure we're giving these guys game reps. So like you mentioned, whether it's a B game, backfield actions, minor league games, not to mention that Baty is going to be getting some reps in the outfield as well. So the communication is going to be huge here, making sure that when we are putting together their plans and, the progression and where they're going to be potentially be playing, they have a pretty good idea and a heads up so they can get ready. But again, creating as many as game opportunities as possible is going to be the key.
All right, let's take it back to that time where the beginning of the offseason that you alluded to when you first came on. What did those conversations sound like? Because if people don't know, Mendy, you are one of the best, most connected, most communicative managers in the game. And that is, that's a superpower for you. And that's what helps drive your team. When you see that you're going to lose, or you lose a guy like Pete, Edwin, traded Nimmo, what are those conversations like? Did you have conversations with all three of those guys? And how hard were they if you did have those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to them after they signed, and it happened back-to-back days. I think it was Edwin. I mean, man, it seems like it's been forever, but I think it was Edwin, the first guy, and then I called him. And as much as you hate seeing him leave, you're happy for him and his family, and you create those relationships with those guys, and you just have to appreciate what they did for us. And then the same thing happened with Pete. I called him, and then I saw him down here. Went to visit a player, and then he was there, and we had a long conversation. Again, you create this relationship with these players that it means a lot, but you wish them well. You thank them because they posted and they were a huge part of this organization. Same thing with the trade with Brandon. It wasn't easy. And then getting on the phone with him, and after the trade went down, you just appreciation, a lot of respect for these guys. Same thing with Jeff McNeil after the trade, the conversations with them, and just like I said, appreciate what they did for us.
All right, you talked a little about hitters that you lost there a little bit. I want to go back to Bo Bichette for a second. Where do you see him hitting in the lineup? And talk about that situation too, because you could put him anywhere. He's a guy that can bat 2, he can bat 4. Talk to me about if you thought about that, and where do you see him hitting starting, first day of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it's early, and I'm not going to lie. When the transaction went down, I had some time the following day, just kind of start envisioning where I could potentially be hitting him. But like you said, he's so versatile that this is a guy that could lead off, could hit second, could hit third, could hit fourth. But if you're asking me right now, and I mean, we're so far away from opening day, I could see a combination of Lindor, Soto, Bichette right away, But again, I got to have these conversations with the players. But the fact that Bo is such a good hitter, you could put him in front of Soto, you could put it behind him, you could put Lindor, whether take him out of the leadoff spot and put him third. There's so many different ways I could go here.
All right. One of the things that was said, because we didn't hear a lot about Bo Bichette, and it was said on this show, not by me, not by AJ, not by Scott or Todd, somebody said the Bo signing was a panic pivot. Do you feel like it was more of a surprise for you than if you had gotten Tucker, if that had gone all the way through and it had been Tucker, or was it something that, we had this coming down the lane the whole time, it was just you stupid media people didn't know about it?
Prats, I know you're going to tell me. If you said it, you will tell me. Hey, I said it.
Oh, I would tell you. You know that.
No, listen, I don't see it as a panic because we laid down that foundation. We were prepared. We had Zoom calls with him, so we had conversations with him. This wasn't all Tucker went somewhere else, and then the very next day, here we are signing Bo. We have meetings with him. Like I said, you got to give credit to David Stearns in the front office because they laid out that foundation that, we had an idea in case, this guy goes here, we can always go there. But I wouldn't say it was a panic move.
All right. Does it feel a little bit better signing Bo that the Phillies thought they had Bo? Just a little bit, just a little rivalry. Does it feel a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much out there that I don't know that you get caught up on all the noise and all that, but I saw those reports where the Phillies are getting close to getting Bo. I think you're just getting an elite player, period. Regardless whether we got him or they didn't get him, they're still a pretty good team, But the way I see it is just that we got better as a team, as an organization, as soon as we signed him.
Okay. It was confirmed by Dombrowski, so it wasn't just a rumor. But I won't let you. I won't belabor the point because my next one's a little bit tougher. There's not reports, but there's things coming out about, hey, you guys wanted to change the culture. When you see the moves that were made on a team that didn't pitch well, and yet it was position player, position player, position player, position player that weren't signed back, maybe to me it kind of confirms that, or was it a shift of what type of team you want to be and not necessarily the culture of a team that needed to be shifted?
Yeah, look, I know there was a lot of noise as well about that. For me, I think it was just some of the personnels and the way we want to construct our roster. We had a really good culture, the truth was that we didn't play well. We didn't get results. I thought that at the beginning of the year, for the first 2.5 months, nobody said anything about, what was going on in our locker room. It was a profession. Look, now, if we're comparing 2025 to 2024, then maybe there's a case there, but that was something magical that what happened in 2024. I feel like the guys got along well. They respected each other. But when you're not winning games, like, you're trying to keep it fun. You're trying to push guys, but we just didn't get the job done on the field. But I think we heard David and how much we wanted to improve our defense, and some of these moves will reflect that.
I want to go on another guy you guys just picked up, Luis Robert. Have you had any conversation with him? And two, we know him. We know he's got the power, and we know he can hit the ball a long way, big in stature. You looking for him just to be healthy and bring back that old Luis Robert of old, Junior?
Yeah, 100%, Todd. I mean, we're looking at a very toolsy player. When he's healthy, he's one of the best. We know the defense, we know the power, his ability to steal bases. It's our job to keep him on the field now. I spoke with him. I know the trainers are already with their hands on him. Again, we got to get to know the player. We got to get to know his routines and the way he prepares. And then we're going to have to make some adjustments in communication with him, because that's going to be the goal. We need this guy on the field. So I feel good where he's at in talking to him. And like I said, our medical group is already in communication with him, and I'm pretty sure they're going to put a plan moving forward. So he allows him to be on the field as much as possible.
¿Cuánto tiempo habla con Luis? How many times have you talked to Luis? Because you have a little different connection than, say Will Venable did last year. I get it. The previous manager, Pedro had the Spanish connection. That means a lot to Cuban guys, I think, more than some guys who come up through the minor leagues and spend a lot of time in the minor leagues. He was in the minor leagues for a little bit and then bang, in the big leagues. So how many times have you talked to him to make that connection as much as you can in these previous few days that you've had him now as a player?
Yeah, no, I only talked to him once, but I'm planning on visiting him so I could see him in person and watch him work out. I know he's down here in Florida, but I know our trainers already in contact with him. But as far as like my first conversation, I mean, it happened so fast, right? It was just more like introduction. But again, it's good to have a player that, with that caliber and that potential. And my job now as the manager and our coaches is to build that relationship with him so he can trust us.
All right. Freddie P., my guy, one of my favorite teammates of all time.
And what do you got on? Give me some.
See? Yep. How much is this first conversation that you're going to have with him? If you haven't had it yet, or you already had it, does it mean to set out a standard of, you need to be our number one, or you don't need to be our number one? You just need to be you.
Right. And that's it, Grazie. He needs to be himself. I spoke with him. As soon as the transaction went down, I got on the phone and I had a very good conversation. He was super excited. And everything that I'm hearing, we all know the quality of the pitcher and the competitor that he is on the mound. But everybody keeps telling me the quality of the person. And you could feel it right away with my first conversation with him and how excited he was. And He's willing to report a poor San Lucie earlier, so he started meeting people, and that for me goes a long way. Again, it was a productive and really good conversation. But at the end of the day, he's got to be Freddy Peralta. Go out there, compete, and give us a chance to win every time you take the baseball.
Did you make him laugh the first time you talked to him on the phone, or were you serious, Mendy?
Yeah, I was Mendy. It was just maybe he laughed. He's not like, hey, how are you now? Telling him about the organization, who we are, what we are all about, and he just appreciate that.
And did you tell him that it's extension time? Have you guys as an organization said we're going to make this guy a permanent Met? Because your other guy, Bo Bichette, said nothing when asked about playing for a one-year contract, or was it going to be a little bit longer?
Yeah, we'll let them get comfortable here. We'll let Freddy get his feet wet here and go out there and do himself, and the rest will take care of itself. Same thing with Bo. We need those guys to go out and have huge year, and then the rest will take care of itself.
All right. The end of the season didn't go well. Then you had some coaches changes, all that stuff. How did you handle that? Now that you look back on it, you've had Christmas and New Year's and hopefully some time. People need to know managers are very busy. They're on Zoom calls and flights for people that are signed. How did you, looking back on those weeks, the end of the season, through the playoffs, the coaching changes, how did you handle it? And how tough was it? Or did you know it was tough in the moment, and then when you're looking back on it, you know what? I handled it as well as I could.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. They were probably the toughest days of my professional career, whether it was a player, coach, manager, at any level, because you develop this relationship with these coaches. We were together for a couple of years. And, when, you're going to have to make some tough decisions. And, man, I'm telling you, you not only get close with them, because you spend so much time with them, you spend more time with them than what you do with your family. They become your family. And when you're making those phone calls, it just breaks your heart, but it's the business. Obviously, everybody understands. But to answer that question, Kratzy, very difficult few days, few weeks, to be honest with you, to kind of get over the hump. But I'm happy that pretty much all of them found home, which I'm not surprised because, again, not only they were really good coaches, they were great people, but we needed to make some tough decisions.
Talk about your starting rotation pitching-wise. If everybody's healthy, Senga coming back from his injury, do you see a six-man rotation through this? I feel like Senga, I'm not a manager. Yeah, it's tough, but
don't go there, Todd. I
don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like he's going to need it, though.
Last year, there's always a topic with Kodai where you guys going to go 5-man, you guys going to go 6-man. I remember last year when we were rolling, right, and all of these starters were throwing the ball extremely well. And somebody asked me, hey, you got Manaya coming back. You got Frankie Montas coming back.
Yeah.
That same day, Kodai Senga goes down. 3 days later, I think Griffin Canning blows his Achilles. Then Tyler McGill goes down. Here we are now. Not too long ago, 10 days ago, people were asking me, what are you guys going to do with 10 starters? And now we're down like 2 of them. And here you are now, Todd, asking me.
I'm saying it now, so the injuries are done now. We'll do it now. So when the season comes, the question was already asked, so nobody's going to get injured. You're good.
I'll blame you. Well, but the goal obviously is to keep these guys healthy, and then hopefully we're making those tough decisions. And whether off days, how many do you want to go 6-man? You just got to wait. So
wait and see. Yep.
Do you feel like Stearns and Stevie Cohen are done? Do you feel like if you added another starting pitcher, this is always a touchy subject for me when you're on a roster, you're the manager. If I say, yes, we want another starting pitcher, then it sounds like, well, which of these 6, is it me? Is he pointing at me? Mendy doesn't like me? I understand that part of it. Is there a world where you guys continue to talk about adding a big frontline starter that you can continue to add in and add to this 10-man rotation that you had last year, and now this year you're starting with a few less?
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I know Davey is going to continue to stay active. With Stevie, like, you just, as a manager, you appreciate having an owner, and Steve and Alex that are willing to put all the resources, right? That's a really good feeling. So for me to sit here and say, I don't know. I know we'll continue to be active. I know David will continue to look for ways to continue to improve our roster, but we do feel really good with where we are as a team, from the pitching side, from the position player side, the depth, our minor league system. Like, we feel really good where we're headed as an organization.
All right, Nolan McLean. He's going to be pitching in some kind of big games at the beginning of the season. How nervous does that make your hand? Does it make your hands sweat? Does that make that he's going to play for the WBC?
Yes and no. Again, it could happen anywhere. Whether it's in the WBC, but you hate to just even think about. But for them to go through that type of experience, I had the opportunity to be with Team Venezuela the past WBC, and what an experience. Like, for me, the fact that he's going to be able to experience that play with and against some of the best players in the world in that type of environment, those settings, is just going to continue to help his development. So I'm excited about it, and I know he is super excited. He's getting ready. He's getting after, and I'm just looking forward to watching pitch.
All right, last one from me. I've already had a lot of them, Mendy, so I used up all my questions, and I need to put another quarter in the system. Your ABS strategy. I know you've thought about it because you're constantly thinking about stuff like this. How are you going to deploy it, and is there going to be an onus on who has a little bit more leeway than other people, and will you slap somebody that's hitting ninth on the wrist for a bad challenge when Juan Soto comes up in the ninth and doesn't have a challenge?
Yeah, I think he's just creating that awareness. It's fluid. I think people are making way too much out of it. The strategy part, and at the end of the day, they got to hit. They got to go be a hitter. That's hard to do. You guys know, Todd, Kratzy, like, it's hard. Like, the last thing I want from them is like thinking, well, this is a high leverage, this is a medium leverage. Should I challenge? Like, go ahead, and then we'll adjust. Like I said, it'll be fluid. I'm not gonna tell Juan Soto not to challenge on that first inning. He knows the strike zone better than anybody. If he knows a ball, he's gonna challenge, regardless of the leverage of the game, right? But I think we're just gonna let it play out and then make some adjustments as we move forward here.
Hey, last one from me, Mendy. Carson Bench. So a name that we're learning more about even during the offseason, because it sounds like he could be a part of the mix early in the season if things go right for him in spring training. It doesn't hurt that he's already down in Port St. Lucie, which we heard about. So what are the chances that we see him early on cracking the team, maybe out of camp, if he has a big spring training?
Yeah, and he is going to get an opportunity to make the team. He's got a legit chance to do it. And like you mentioned, credit to him. He's already working out in Port St. Lucie, and he's planning on staying there until officially he has to report. So we got a lot of our coaches already working with him. But again, I'm excited, and he's going to get an opportunity to make the ball club out of spring training.